Well, looky here who I came upon. Randy from Incredible Tiny Homes. And look at here, I'm recording them being recorded. Let me see if I can sneak up here and get a little interview with him when he's done. Oh, look here, who's here? If it's not the king of tiny home building himself, Randy, the creator of the amazing Incred-i-box from Incredible Tiny Homes. Hello, hello.
Howdy.
Well, you know what? I snagged you for a few minutes. You're a popular guy.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I came here not knowing what I was going to get into. This is only my second show I've ever done.
Oh my
goodness.
I got
Fresno about a month ago on this one, and it is cool to see people coming up that's already been watching your shows. So yeah, I've had a warm welcome.
Well, you know, Randy, we see all of your incredible builds, your ideas, how you started out, how you're developing, how you're expanding, how you went from, you know, you have what, the beach, the forest, what's the third port?
Prairie and the Grove.
And now you're having what's the mountain?
The Grove, and then we got the mountain. The mountain would be the fifth one.
So, you know what, can we back way up, way back?
Oh man, how far are you going?
Way back
Okay.
to the beginning as to what gave you the idea to do this?
Well, you know, gosh, initially, so just to do a tiny home, I guess what you really want to know is, I was a contractor for years. I built log cabins and custom homes and remodeling and that. And then 08 hit, and 08 just wiped me out. I had a log cabin resort that I built, and the biggest thing I like to point out is that I never had millions of dollars. I've never had money that I created a resort. I created a resort out of nothing, right? I sold the house, bought the land, and then it just went. You know, I started building homes and people.
You're just a visionary.
Yeah, and then 08 hit, and I had a debt in the bank. You know, had to call the note due, and so I lost it all. I traveled all over the country just trying to work. I went from, you know, almost being 50 years old to digging ditches again, you know.
Wow.
And had a $12 million resort before that. But anyway, after about 5 years, I was building sheds. I was collecting used lumber, which is hard.
So what made you decide to do that?
Well, to build sheds, it was just to make money.
Okay.
Since I had to have groceries, you know, something to eat.
Okay, yeah.
And so I would be on job sites, and contractors would just give me their lumber left over. They didn't want to haul it off. So I would collect it, and then I built the shed. And then Amanda said to me, she goes, hey, she goes, have you seen these tiny homes? And I said, no, what's a tiny home? And this was in 2014.
Okay.
And so I looked it up, and the one that I noticed was Tumbleweed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So Tumbleweed had a 16-foot home for $65,000, and it blew me away. I'm like, how can you sell something like that for $65,000?
Right.
Around where I'm from, you buy a house and land and everything for that.
Absolutely.
So I gathered all my materials together, and I built a house and I sold it for $20,000.
I remember.
And I was like, wow. And I put it on a little website called Tiny House Listings. Back then it was for a penny. You put it on there and you could list it.
Yeah, I've looked on there before.
I got 20 calls that weekend, and that was Memorial Day weekend. Now that was in 2015.
I did a light go boing.
Well, I'm like, what do I want to do? And I knew it. I thought, man, I love building. I build quick. I build really simple, and it felt comfortable for me to build these. They're not hard at all.
Right.
So I've never been in a competitor's tiny home. I've never asked a competitor how they build, how they insulate, how they wire and plumb, how they frame, how they roof. Never have I got any advice from anybody. I didn't want to get advice. I wanted to create this out of what I've known, and that's the fun part for me, is trying to figure all this stuff out. And so we built the house, and we're still building to this day the same way we built on some of our homes 8 years ago.
Wow.
So then my whole kind of vision is to, of course, compete with all these guys, right? And so I'm thinking nobody's touching that market between $20,000 and $30,000. Nobody.
You're right.
And I wanted to stay at 20 grand. And sure enough, as the years went on, I had the RJO, which is a Randy Jones original. It was the cheapest house. We sold $15,000.
Wow.
But it was all wood, and then the wood prices went up, right? So then I remembered this material right here of 30 years ago. They were using them out of Kentucky, building sheds and stuff. And remember, you can see them 30 years later, and there's no rust.
Let's walk around and look at this as we're going.
Yeah.
So you build that, and then how did it just explode? What happened?
Well, when you offer something and you say I'm exploded, I don't know that I've exploded. You know, I mean, we're building and we're going. I mean, I know we've got communities that I've started, and I didn't intend to do any of that. And that's a whole nother story in how the community started.
Well, tell us briefly, how did that start?
Well, we had a need. People were, and it is still down here. When we build a tiny home, people say, I would buy one, but I have nowhere to put it.
Okay.
So I said, all right, I tell you what I'll do. I live on our community, or I mean our factory is on a commercial property. Mm-hmm. And I thought, nobody's going to live there. And I don't have any money to develop. I can't get a loan because my credit stop is just shot. And I can't get a line of credit, can't get anything. So I'm like, how can I develop this land? So what everybody says, everybody wants to develop their land, but how are you going to get $1 million? Well,
right.
I just went on our YouTube station and I just said, hey, everybody, I didn't cut any roads. I had no money to do it. And I said, if somebody wants to give me $6,000 per lot for your lot, and I got to have 30 people commit to that, and I'm only going to offer this for 30 days. So if I don't get 30 people in 30 days, nobody's interested. 2 weeks, I had 30 people committed to give me money at $6,000.
Wow.
Now what it was, my deal was, you give me $6,000 in return. You see, I'm going to use your money to develop this property.
Right.
So in return, I gave you back 2 years free rent.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So it didn't cost you anything. Right? So you gave me $6,000. I'm using your money to build that infrastructure. Now I'm going to honor you, and then after that, I'm only going to charge $200 a month.
You're just like you come up with all these ideas. Do you think that it's almost like the more pressure you're under, it's like squeezes out these ideas? The more pressure you're under, the more ideas you come up with.
So it's hard. It's hard being Randy Jones because I'm under enormous amount of financial pressure all the time, right?
Okay.
And work pressure and competition and all that. But out of that, exactly what you said becomes invention. And it, and what they say, what is the author of invention is
necessity is the mother of invention.
You got necessity.
Yeah.
So I need to keep going. I've got 100 employees that we got to keep fed.
Wow.
And I don't have millions of dollars in reserve to sit here and say, okay, hey, sales have slumped a little bit.
Yeah.
We can get through this time. We can. So I'm always
hustling
thinking how we can do this. So we had a need. We had people that needed a place to stay. We needed to build homes, and we married that together. And I thought, but my biggest thing is how I think about things is that if you help me, I'm responsible for you. So if you give me $6,000, you don't own that land. I own it. So why would you do that? Well, you're doing it because you need a place to live, but I need to honor that. So in return, I have to give you back your money. And that's what that 2 years free rent was.
Right. We moved in, so we didn't have any interference with the music and no copyright issues, but you were saying that you really believe in giving someone back when they gave you the money, the $6,000 for you to build out, that you wanted to give them something of value back, and that was why they had free rent for
Well, I mean, you give me $6,000 and you don't own a title to a piece of property. I mean, you've allowed me to put the infrastructure on, which I will reap a benefit from forever, right?
Absolutely.
So I need to, morally, to me, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to, and I make the deal sweet is because I'm going to give you 2 years free rent, which gives you your $6,000 back.
Right.
Well, that whole concept, for some reason, has blown everybody away. It's like, wow, look what he's doing. Well, I'm like, that's just what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So we've done that 240 times.
Wow.
Yeah, and I never dreamed it would go that much. Now we get 240 home sites on that 34 acres, plus our factory that we build these Incred-i-boxes and custom homes and wood stick built homes,
And plus, I was watching an interview you did the other day, and the person you were interviewing, she was talking about how it's really a community. How, before she lived somewhere, she didn't even know her neighbors, they didn't talk anything. And she's talking about she has parties at her little tiny house, they get together, they do things. So it's really a community.
Yeah, it's coming together where people are able to, you know what I think the biggest thing is because the $200 a month is taking the pressure off people's lives. So now they have the ability to relax and want to talk to their neighbor instead of getting a second job, whatever they got to do, worrying about money all the time. So it's a really relaxed environment, and I think it's taken a while for people to get just used to and knowing each other. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people have come from an area where they haven't been with people for a long time. A lot
Absolutely.
of people have been secluded in their homes, and now they're just getting ready to get back into socializing. Yeah, it's
Well,
neat.
I think you are at the beginning of a wave of the future. I really do, and I think people are going to copy you. And you know, every time I do a tour of a tiny house,
Yeah.
in my comments, without fail, I'll get at least 40 or 50 comments. Will say, "Oh, you should talk to Randy. Have you seen
No,
Incredible?"
they don't.
Yes, yes. Every time I do a tiny house
Wow.
tour, I can't tell you how many people comment and ask me,
That's
"Do I know
cool.
about you? Have I heard about you?" So the word is getting out, especially in the
Holy
nomad
smokes.
community. Oh yeah, oh it really is.
That's cool. I don't know any, people ask me, said, "Hey, about this show," and literally, I don't ever leave Tennessee. I don't ever even go out of the shop or even off our grounds for weeks and months at a time. I stay there and work and develop and move, and it's just so much to do. And the part that we get out is these YouTube channels, but I'm like talking to a telephone, or
Yeah.
a camera. So it's real rewarding to come to these shows and see people that knows me.
Well, let me ask you this. You're developing that area right across from where you are.
Yep.
Now, do you have in your mind to expand and go to another location at some point?
Well, my initial grand scheme of things, it hit me immediately 5 years ago. I wanted to do a community, and I wanted to go nationwide, and I wanted to put incredible communities all over the country. And like if you had one and she had one and I had one, right? Maybe in different parts of the country, we could all swap out and we could move all over the country, and I'd go stay in yours, you'd stay in mine, she'd stay in somebody else's.
Oh, you mean kind of like, not a time, yeah, kind of like a timeshare.
Yeah.
Where you could stay.
You just keep paying your $200 a month. Just
So
keep
you
paying.
could, if you wanted to spend the winters in the desert, if you wanted to spend the summers in the mountains.
Yeah. Like
So-
if you had a family member that was maybe in Orlando or near that area, and something happened, you said, "Oh, I got to go down there and I got to stay 3 or 4 months or a year." You could swap out, and somebody could come and stay in yours, and you go stay in that one, and then everybody helps everybody, and you kind of get an experience of living across the country.
Well, this is an exclusive. You're hearing it first
Yeah.
on Glorious Life on Wheels that the king of tiny homes is going nationwide. You
Yes.
heard it here first. Randy is going nationwide.
Yeah, I think we are, because I wanted to build our prototype, and I wanted to make sure it worked, right?
It does. It absolutely does.
And what I love is the people are helping me. We are not conforming to the banks.
Right.
There's no debt. Do you know that there's no debt? I have no debt whatsoever. Got 240 home sites.
That's
160
unheard of.
acres,
That is unheard of.
100 employees, 160 acres across the street, 34 acres with 240 people, and no one debt.
So you're basically doing it on biblical principles, being debt free. If you think about it.
Yes, and you know how I do it is you guys are helping us, and we're helping you in return. Also, the reason why we sell our homes so economically is because we don't have these high interest rates we're paying.
I was just going to say, you're not paying interest.
We're not paying anything, so it keeps all of our costs down low. So you have to believe in us that we're not going to run off with your money and go bankrupt. And that's why I used to have my mom, she lived with me, on the ground, and I said, I got my mom here. I've got my dog here. I live here. I says $850. I showed my home. I'm living right here.
I don't know of any other home builders who aren't carrying notes on their property or on their houses. I don't know of any other in the country.
None.
Especially, even ones that are building 3, 4, 5, much less 240.
Yep.
I don't know of any.
Paid for.
Wow.
Done. It's just amazing, and I haven't borrowed one dime.
That's just spectacular.
Yeah, and this Incred-i-box is really helping us move inventory, give guys work. It's able to give us a cash flow to survive. And that's why we offered the Black Friday special. I said, you know what? The holidays, I'm in tune with it. And the holidays, people don't buy stuff. You guys are getting Christmas.
Yeah,
and
they're
all
busy
this
and
stuff.
broke
So our
and-
sales go down. And if you're self-employed, it's always been a hard time. And I said, I'm not gonna let that happen to us. I got too many guys here that need jobs. I'm not gonna lay them off. And that's why I did a Black Friday. I said, I'm gonna knock $5,000 off the cheapest homes in the country. Or we gave a complete solar unit away, which was $7,500. So gave it away. And do you know we had over 100 people for Black Friday?
Oh, I can believe that.
And it was
I can absolutely believe
yeah.
that.
boom. But you know what? It kept everybody working.
But you're always coming up with these fabulous ideas.
Yeah, and it's fun too. It
You
really
know,
is.
and you can tell that you're having fun. But you know what? Let's go ahead and we're going to go into part 2. This lives a lot larger than the size.
You have to get inside this thing.
It lives a lot larger than the size.
20-foot RV, you're gonna get 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 people in here right now, and we all got a big space.
Our
around
own
us.
space.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're going to take a look at that. So come
All
on,
right.
Globies. Let's go look at the next video and see
Let's do
what
it.
this looks like.